Hello, welcome to the Managing Drought in the Southern Plains webinar series. This is offered by the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program in association with NOAA, NIDIS, and the National Drought Mitigation Center. This is part of a regular briefing that we do each week, and we also have a monthly full webinar where we discuss some of these issues in more depth. We invite you to join us on our next one scheduled for April 11th. Please see southernclimate.org for more information. So here's what's going on this week is we've seen us slipping backward a little bit in the south after some good rains earlier in the year, slight improvements in the central and north, and we've seen a lot of improvement out towards the Atlantic coast. But New Mexico's been having continuing problems. There is some good news for some of the region in the next few weeks, and we'll see where we go beyond that. As we look at this week's Drought Monitor map, again, the pattern looks very familiar. Not much change in the midsection this week. A lot of improvement, though, along in Georgia, South Carolina, along the East Coast, but Florida has actually been getting a little bit drier as well. As we look more regionally, we can see some problems in Oklahoma and Texas, where we've had some of the D4 areas continuing to expand in Texas. Oklahoma's been pretty much status quo for the week, and a little bit of expansion out in some of the dry areas into Arkansas. Northern parts, north central parts of the U.S., still pretty much a similar pattern. Not much change this week. Maybe slight improvement, but the large area of the D4 remaining right now. We'll see how that progresses too as the spring snowmelt goes in. As we look over into Georgia, we can see some improvement, and actually they are out of drought, severe drought at least, the D2 and above. For the first time since 2010, the chart at the bottom shows the evolution of drought over the last several years in Georgia. New Mexico is a completely different story, though, as drought has expanded there, especially the extreme drought, D3 area, covering now much of New Mexico. And you can see the extreme drought from 2011 and persisting actually throughout this time since then and expanding over the course of this winter slightly. When we look at the rainfall patterns, we can see that dryness has kind of crept back in across the entire southwest to south central U.S. In the shorter term, the last 14 days, the last 60 days shows up very well. When we look out at 6 months or for the year to date, you can see that red patch in New Mexico and far west Texas that just is really hanging on there. So even though there's been some relief into Oklahoma and eastward, it still hasn't gotten to some of the hard-hit areas in the west. In the next few days, we see some more of that pattern with the rainfall generally to the east of the region. Cool temperatures remaining across the region. We're having a little bit of warmth right now, but that'll give way back to the cool air. Beyond that, in the next following week, we see generally cooler air off in the east. And for one of the first times, we see absolutely no brown on the precipitation map, indicating some areas above normal or at least near normal expected for the next few days. As we look a little bit longer into the spring, April, May, June period, we're expecting warmer temperatures than normal across most of the U.S. and kind of a mixed bag across our region in terms of precipitation. This is reflected in the drought outlook, where it shows improvement across the Corn Belt in particular, and up into Nebraska, which has been hard hit, but drought hanging on across the southern U.S. from Texas towards the west coast. We invite you to sign up for these information about these webinars and briefings on southernclimate.org. And we have this as well as a whole number of other resources on our webpage. So we invite you to look at those, and we look forward to working with you again in the future. Thank you.